Let's talk about how we find support team members. In other words, people who want to be on the team to help care for somebody, to reach out and be a support to somebody with a healthcare issue. Because I am a chaplain in a hospital, I'm just going to use an example of seeing a patient who has already said, I'd love to have a support team. And after he or she understands what that is, and we'll talk about that in another video, and the question then becomes, where do we look for team members? Where do we look for team members? And so I'd like to suggest a couple of, or several different places, and as I talk to the support team friend, the patient, about where we can find people who will want to care. And so one of the first places I ask a person is, what about someone that is a friend of yours who has said, hey, is there anything I can do to help a friend? And we will, let's make that a little bit larger, friend. A lot of times people say, is there anything I can do to help? But the person needing the help is like, well, no, I don't really have a list for you, or that's kind of hard to do. And so one of the first areas is I'll ask someone is, are there some friends you have that would like to help, they just don't know what they can do yet? And so we'll say, think about friends who can help, friends. That should be plural, but we'll just keep going. All right. The second area that I think about is if this person has had a place of work in the past, I would say, who are people you have worked with that you were close to? Work colleagues is what I'll call them. And a lot of times that's an overlooked area. But there are people that you're closer to sometimes at work, and yes, they would love to help if they just knew what you wanted them to do. A third area that I think of has to do with neighbors. And neighbors we sometimes don't even know that many of our neighbors in this day and time, but many times there are a couple of people that we know on the same street or road or nearby where we live in the area of town. And so we'll put neighbors, and we'll put them down here. That's another potential place, and what we'll be doing is making a list, contacting these persons and inviting them to a meeting together, and we will talk about what a support team is, and if they would like to be involved, then we would love to have them. And so we'll call these neighbors. Okay, and then another area that I think about for potential support team members is if somebody has a congregation, whatever their faith group, maybe they've been a part of it in the past, and so let's just say congregation. When we first began developing support teams, congregations became the most fruitful places for us to go and talk to people, mainly because part of their mission is to care for the sick. And so we'll just say a congregation is one place to think about. And it may be that they don't have a congregation, and if that's the case, we could ask them, would it be okay if we approached a particular congregation in your neighborhood or in your community, maybe some of the same faith group that you believe, or just people who might be willing to care. And so congregation is one of those. And then one of the last areas I think about, or last in this thinking out loud, is about people who want to care, who are people who've been through a similar situation in their life, maybe a cancer survivor. I'm going to call this peer, or just call them peers, people who know what it's like to go through what you're going through. And one of the ways we find those, sometimes somebody's a cancer survivor and they want to help somebody else who's going through the similar experience and they want to give back. And so one of the things we'll do is go to a support group here at our hospital and talk to people who are part of that group and say, do you or anybody you know would like to be on a team for this person? Here's the situation. And so it's just one more way for us to find persons who want to care and who may be on a support team. These are just some of the areas to look for, whether it's friends that we know or whether it's work colleagues we've been with, people who live nearby, a congregation either that they've been a member of or live or is in their neighborhood or area of town, and then finally peers who have had like kinds of experiences. I would then take this list and contact these persons with the support team friends' consent, of course, and let them know that we're wanting to help. Let's say her name is Tina. We're going to help Tina, a group of us, and we were wondering if you want to just hear about an easy way we're going to try to do that together, and set a meeting date and time and place and invite those persons to it, and that's where we introduce them to the team concept.